Imagine this. Every bite you take, every pill you swallow, every bottle you drink, contains a legally sanctioned dose of poison. And it's not a secret. The FDA calls it permissible limits. But ask yourself, permissible for whom? Behind closed boardroom doors, a shadow cartel writes the rules for what's safe in your food, water, and medicine. Decisions made not for public health, but shareholder profits. This isn't conjecture. This is documented, buried inside federal memos, whistleblower testimony, and leaks almost nobody talks about. The phrase permissible limit sounds reassuring, scientific. But where did it come from? Turns out these figures aren't born only in laboratories. They're hammered out via deals between the FDA, chemical lobbies, and corporate lawyers. Industry reps, sometimes former FDA staff, sit on advisory committees, nudging numbers up until even the most dangerous toxins meet compliance. You ever wonder why some products that barely fail lab tests suddenly pass after a recall scare? Here's the scam. After enough failed tests, the acceptable limit is raised, just above current contamination levels. The legal definition of safe? Whatever comes out of the factory this week. You're not exposed to one chemical at a time. You're hit with a daily chemical cocktail. Yet the FDA's magic numbers ignore combined effects. Synergistic toxicity, two safe chemicals together become lethal. But the permissible system only tests them in isolation. Why? Because industry lobbyists and their friendly regulators know the cumulative effects would destroy their profit model. Exposing this scam isn't popular. Internal studies showing actual harm are suppressed, moved to confidential files, or simply ignored. Independent safety studies, often bankrolled by the very companies under scrutiny. And when the public gets suspicious, the faces behind those studies quietly move from the FDA to cushy jobs at the companies they just regulated. Ever notice US limits are often much higher than in Europe or Asia? Here's why. The US acts as a toxic dumping ground for what other countries ban. Negotiations, some revealed by WikiLeaks, show American diplomats pushing to raise international standards so US exports clear customs overseas. When disaster strikes, oil spills, train derailments, chemical plants exploding, the solution isn't a crackdown on polluters. It's quietly raising the safe limits so contaminated crops and seafood magically become legal for supermarkets. Let's ground this in reality with some examples. Baby food heavy metal scandal. In 2021, Congressional reports revealed that leading baby food brands, Gerber, Beechnut, and others, contained dangerous amounts of arsenic, lead, and cadmium. Industry pressure led the FDA to quietly review and propose raising acceptable limits in response, rather than immediately recalling products or issuing public warnings. Glyphosate in breakfast cereal. In 2018, glyphosate, the cancer-causing herbicide, was discovered in popular breakfast cereals like Cheerios and Quaker Oats, at levels above what many scientists consider safe. Instead of forcing recalls, the EPA, echoed by the FDA, reaffirmed their high permissible limit, conveniently protecting corporate partners despite international bans and lawsuits abroad. Seafood after the BP oil spill. Following the Deepwater Horizon disaster, Gulf seafood showed high concentrations of carcinogenic polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Rather than halt sales, U.S. regulators quietly raised permissible PAH limits, declaring the tainted seafood safe enough to avoid industry losses and maintain supply chains. These are only 3 cases. There are thousands more. If we tried to list them all, we'd need hours, not minutes. Over 1,000 new food chemicals and additives entered the U.S. market in the past decade, without independent testing, thanks to the GRAS, also known as Generally Recognized as Safe loophole. Corporations greenlight their own chemicals. The FDA merely rubber stamps the paperwork. Sometimes the ingredients and their permissible levels are secret, protected as trade secrets. Those who fight the scam from inside face blacklisting, threats, even ruined careers. From scientists silenced for warning of baby food metals to inspectors ordered to fudge numbers. The message is loud: obey or be destroyed. Now, corporations are fast-tracking AI to calculate safe levels, removing human judgment altogether. But who trains the algorithms? The same industry studies and hidden data. Soon, if the AI says it's safe, it's law, now with zero accountability. Cancer clusters, autism spikes, neurological disorders on the rise. Yet, the official stance: no evidence of harm within permissible limits. Silenced scientists and buried data show the opposite. But the cartel's narrative rules the headlines. This isn't just a bureaucratic error. It's a systemic enterprise, legalized poisoning disguised as science, enforced by captured regulators and silenced by bought-off media. So before you trust what's permitted, ask who profits if you stay sick. If humanity ever wake up to the scale of this medical and food fraud, it won't be reform that follows, it will be revolt.